Okay, first of all, thank you, Mr. Reyes, and thank you, Mr. Cantu, for attending this. Okay, today we're gonna do the fifth grade math and the data analysis. We're gonna get the benchmark data that we just took. We're gonna try to find what the students need help in. And first of all, welcome. And we're gonna talk a little bit about the agenda. Okay, if you look at the agenda in front of you, first of all, introduce the purpose of the meeting, and the purpose is to disaggregate math benchmark data with the purpose of identifying low-performing TEKs and distractors. Teachers will collaborate to create action plans and tutoring plans to help meet the needs of each student. So this is what we're doing today. Now, after that, we're going to get the data analysis. We're going to analyze the benchmark. We're going to identify the distractors and the low TEKs. And I know we all have different TEKs, but I think across the grade level, they're going to be kind of similar. We're going to we're going to find probably a trend where we see the same TEKs that are missed by most students. We're going to analyze the question stems and identify misconceptions and why students chose them. So we're going to go through some questions, mainly the ones that had the most distractors, and we're going to try to see, okay, figure why they missed it and why they, if it's a misconception or it's a reteach question that we have to look for. And after that, we're going to discuss additional resources, discuss the resources teachers additionally use in the action plan. So these are the stuff that's going to help us with the action plans. And we're talking about foldables or think up workbooks, the computer programs we use in the computer lab, some anchor charts, and even interactive word walls. So this is where we're at. Okay, and these are some of the items that we're going to need today. We're going to need our DMAC item analysis reports and TEKS performance chart, which we already have. Our math benchmark 1 test results, which we already have also. It tells us what the students performed high and low on. And we're also going to need the TEKS star release questions then, where we're going to use the STAR test, the actual benchmark test that they use, and we're going to analyze that one. Now, okay, the most important thing is why do we segregate data? And the reason we do it is the ability to use data to drive instruction is vital. Disaggregating data allows teachers to identify the needs of students. Data is accurate and reliable. It gives teachers a true picture of every student's progress. So one of the best things about data is that it's very black and white. There's no intermediate in it. It tells you exactly did they get it, did they not get it? Okay, what is not performing on, what does need help on? So it really it helps us drive our instruction. It helps us, okay, this is what we're going to do now. And this is hopefully we're going to do with it. We're going to create action plans to try to figure out what the kids need. Now, in the item analysis report, which you already have, it says teachers will analyze each question on test and identify the number of distractors for each question. And again, distractors are incorrect answer choices in which 9% or higher of the class selected. And I know we circle those and we kind of know which of the distractors are. Teachers will complete an item analysis report on problems 1 to 38 of the benchmark. So we're going to try to go through as many, but at least focus on the ones that we know that the kids are having a hard time on. The TEKS performance chart that's at the end of our data analysis. The TEKS performance chart allows teachers to identify the low performing TEKs from the benchmark. Teachers can gather information on TEKs and create action plans and tutoring groups based on the TEKs. So we'll go over that and we'll look at the TEKs and see what we need. TEKs can be grouped into categories and level of need for students, and levels include master the concept, clear up misunderstandings students may have had, and reteach the entire concept. So we're going to try to decide, okay, is this a reteach or is this a misconception that the student might have had and didn't understand? So hopefully that helps us there. Now, if we look at our item analysis that we have, now, again, this is an item analysis for my class, and I'm sure we all have them right. So what we're going to do is, again, as we know, everything in orange is what the kids pretty much good on. 95, anything above an 85 is in yellow. So we're going to do that. So what we're going to do is, since they did it from the ones they got right the most to the ones they got wrong the most. So we're going to start from the back going forward. That way we can identify the ones with the lowest performance. Now again, this is the TEKS performance chart that we're talking about. This is the TEKS performance chart, and again, it lets us know what they did wrong and how they did on each question. And this lets us know whether they met it or did not meet it. So anything above the red line, that means that there was a 70 or above, which means they mastered it. Anything below the red line means it did not master. So these are the ones we have to focus on. Um, in most of it'll be from question mine, it'll be from 33, 4. These are the problems that they missed. So we're going to look at that and see what they did. Now, if we look at that first one, and we're gonna look at the ones you have up there. Now, if you all look at, what was the lowest one that you guys had on, the question?
Question
28. Now, look at, mine is also 28. What about you, Mr. Cantu?
The
Did you,
28 was third from the bottom.
okay,
My lowest one was 23.
23. Okay, let's look at 28, because mine is low performing, so is yours, and so is Mr. Reyes's. My students scored a 24% on that. How about yours?
21%.
21% yours? 26%. So we can all say that there were about 25% of the class got it. So that means 75% of the class did not get it. Now we look at that one, that question right there, on question 28. Let's try to identify the concept and see what it was. Got it? Sure. Okay, on 28, it says Harold cut 18.5 inches off a rope that was 60 inches long. How is the length of the remaining of the rope in inches written in decimal form? So what happened is they gave them a fractional question and they wanted them to convert it into a decimal. Okay, so do you guys think this is a reteach or just to clear up misunderstandings on the question?
For me, it's just a clear up.
Okay,
Me as well, clear up.
okay. What do you think we can do to clear it up?
I think the students have to know the equivalent of 1/2 and fraction to decimal.
Okay, so maybe we could introduce it with money?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure you've
agree.
done it, and because I know I did it in my class where we introduced it with money, where 1/4 equals 0.25, which is a quarter, half equals 0.50, which is 50 cents, and 3/4 would equal to 0.75. And I think that would be the easiest way to, I know I've done it, I know you've done it, and I think it's not so much as a reteach, I think they just got confused and didn't know what to do, and what happens, they just shut down and don't do anything, or they just write whatever, and I think also what got them is that almost at the end of the test,
Yes, I agree.
so they were tired, they were just, okay, I don't get it, I'm gonna put whatever.
And some students, they just told me, sir, I don't know how to do this. I just said, okay, I can't help you. This is the best you can.
And that's what we get, and sometimes it's easier for kids to say, I don't know it, instead of actually trying it, and it's easier for them to say, oh, I didn't get it, instead of saying, okay, let me try what it was. But I agree with you guys, I think it's just a misconception where we have to teach the kids to go from fractionals to decimals, and I think that was the hardest part, converting it, because everything else is just simple subtraction, and I think that was the one that they missed. So we'll get that one, and we'll put that one as a clear up miscommunication, or misunderstanding, I'm sorry. Okay. What about 22? How did you guys do on 22? How did your students do on 22?
22, 26%.
26%. Okay.
I have 68%.
68. That's still under the 70. I had 43%. Okay. What is 27? Oh, it's the, I'm sorry, 22. 22.
Another griddable. I'm noticing a pattern there. When it comes to a griddable, they freeze like a deer in the headlights.
Do you think it's because they don't have a multiple choice and don't have anything to look by, and they actually have to, kind of scares them a little bit?
For my strugglers.
Yeah, I think that's a problem, because they're so used to having, okay, eliminating answers. Okay, this could be the answer, close to it. Let's choose this one. This one is the length of the edge of a cube is 3 units. What is the volume of this cube? Okay, so this was a question on volume, and they're giving them the length, and they have to understand that a cube, all sides are equal. So it was basically 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, that's right. Do you think this is another clear up misunderstandings, or is it a reteach?
I think it's a clear up, reinforce, reconnect.
Just reinforce,
Yes.
because I mean, what do you think distracted them, or what do you think got them on that one?
Um,
Did they know they had to have the formula because they had the
LWA.
yeah. I mean, to me, I think they just missed it again because a lot of them would have done 3 times 3 sides. It would have been 9 instead of the 27.
Some of my students, they got it the wrong, the wrong place value.
Oh, the griddable
Yes.
actually putting it. Okay, that's another thing. Yeah, you know what? I didn't check that because that could have been a
That's what they have to
problem where
work
they
on,
they
gradable.
just they might have got the right answer, but put it on the griddable the wrong answer. That's another one. Well, we can that, but again, I agree with you guys. That's just something that we need to clear up on misunderstandings because we've gone over volume several times.
Yes.
And the thing is, even if they didn't know the formula, it's on their chart that they give them. And that's the problem. I think some of them are just too lazy that they don't want to go back and look at the chart, even though the formulas are there. And I see that a lot, even on weekly tests where they just don't want to do it. They just, okay, I think I know the answer and that's it. So I think that's it. What about I have number 15. What about you guys on number 15?
15 as well. 15 is 21% for me.
21. I had 48. What did you get, sir?
Tied for the lowest.
Wow. Okay, let me see. 15. Let me see. Oh, okay. This was the fractional strips. Okay. And it was 5/6 minus 1/4. And I don't know about your students, but my students I think focus too much on the diagram. I think if they would have just worked out the algorithm,
That's what
they would have been able to get it. But I think the diagram was more of a distraction than it helped them
Yes, I agree.
because I when I went over it, it was said, okay, we could have just found the least common factor and just done a simple algorithm question. But this is what confused them, and I think also what the diagram does, it takes away from the actual question and makes them focus on this, and that's when they just lose it because that diagram was really, really confusing.
It's busy. It's
It's
so
it's
busy
yeah,
that it
you don't even
overwhelms
know what
me.
to look for. So again, I think if they would have just done the regular algorithm and done a regular problem and subtracted the fractions the way they should have, I think they would have been good on that. So maybe when we reteach it, just hey, if it's giving you the question there, don't worry about the diagram, just work it out because they're not asking you for the question and they're just asking you for the answer. So on that one, I think again, it's another clear up misunderstanding where we just need to tell them, you know what, forget about the diagram and just work the problem out. But your
Yeah,
kids
I,
got
I
your
told
kids
them
got
to always
7 year old,
focus on the question.
huh?
Yes.
Focus on the question, leave those behind.
Yeah.
I just told them.
Yeah.
Even in reading, I told them, focus on the question before you
And I
look
think
at
I
anything.
think that's what happens that they don't that they just got
Because
blindsided
this
by
is the
that
question.
diagram
You
and
know,
they didn't know
what
what
is
to do.
5/6 minus 1/4 question mark? Focus on that.
Because this is so prominent that it's
It just comes out
yeah.
at you. Yeah. And it's meant to do that. And that's what I tell the kids
Meant
sometimes
to
you
distract.
yeah.
Yes.
And I ran into that when we did the multiplying fraction. That they showed them this whole diagram and they just wanted the answer. I go, just multiply the fraction. Forget about the diagram. Once they ask you, okay, what do you need about the diagram? But if they're not asking you a question on the diagram, they just want the answer. Just work it out. And I think this is where that comes in also. So far we have 3 that I think are just clear up understanding, which is encouraging. It doesn't necessarily mean that they just got them wrong. What about number 10?
32%.
32? You?
I got a 74%.
Wow. So your kids are doing pretty good. 48. And on this question, I had out of the 4 answers, I had 2 of them that my kids picked as distractors. 7 kids picked the wrong answer in one, and 3 kids picked the wrong answer in another one. So that's 10 students that picked the wrong answer because they just got it wrong. In number 10, it says Cheyenne works 15 hours a week at the movie theater. She earns $8 an hour. Which statement about her weekly income is true? Oh, this is financial literacy. Her net income is more than 120. Her gross income. So here they're asking you about net and gross.
So students has to know the formula
Mm-hmm.
for this gross income less
And you know what? The thing is, I taught it to them, and the way I taught it for them was, if you look at the alphabet, goes before net. So G is before taxes, and N is after taxes. So that's the way I taught, and obviously they didn't get it because I had some, but that's the way I get them to understand it. G comes before the alphabet, so that's before taxes. Net is after, so it's after the N, so it's after taxes. And I think it's, and again, this is financial literacy where, what do y'all think? Is this a reteach or just clear up misunderstandings?
Reinforcing the vocabulary, just reinforcing the definition of gross and net income. And I like the alphabetical reference because I use the alphabetical reference for the
X and Y
coordinate, yeah.
coordinates, yeah.
So X, Y, Z, what comes first? X comes first.
Yeah.
X, Y, Z.
And
Y
and
comes
and
And
To
G
me-
comes
first.
yeah,
N.
G comes before, and that's before taxes. N comes after the G, which is after taxes. So I mean, or deductions, the way we can talk about it. But again, I think for my students, I think those 10, I think they just need to be clear up the misunderstanding and let them know, hey, gross is deductions that are taken after. I mean, this is your income before the deductions are taken, and your net is your deductions after.
And by the formula.
The formula, yeah, and I think more, like you said, the formula more visual. They have to see it. They have to see it
So they
because,
know that this is more, that's why it's a
Mhm.
million. And minus the expenses, less than that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree, and I've come to realize that most of the students are visual learners. They need to see it, and I'm like that sometimes. I need to see what you're talking about because it's one thing to explain it and say, but it's another thing to see it and actually know what you're talking about. My next one is 12. What about you guys? What did you get on 12? I had a 52% on 12. Wow, so you did actually did good on that one. Number 12, oh, that's gonna be about triangles and classifying polygons. It's actually putting together the triangles in the order they begin in. It says which figures belong in the part of organizer labeled isosceles triangle. Okay. Isosceles, and it's about, it need to know that two sides are the same, right? At least two sides. And I think that's another thing that they need to know. I had two distractors on this one. I had 5 pick one and 4 pick another wrong answer. So I had 9 students that picked the wrong answer. And the isosceles triangle, I think that's what they had trouble on. Again, it goes back to vocabulary. It's just that they don't understand what an isosceles triangle is and what it has to do. For this one, I would say mine's gonna, I don't know, but well, your kids mastered it.
Just, yeah.
Mine is a reteach. I'm gonna reteach the whole thing because I think when they see it in this form, it kind of, again, it's a diagram. It just throws them off. And the diagram, and I tell the kid that this is what they're meant to do. They're meant to get you away from the question and just throw you off and see what it says. But on that one, since I had so many, I think it's gonna be a reteach. I'll reteach that one. What about number 19, sir? On 19, I had 52%. And this is add and subtract rational numbers. So on number 19, how did your kids do?
28%.
28%, yeah. And this is Mr. Wolford used a 2-liter bottle of liquid soap to fill 2 soap containers. He put 0.475 liters of soap in the first container. He put 3,500 liters of soap in the second container. How many liters of liquid soap remain in the bottle? So they had to add these and then subtract.
Or subtract.
Subtract. Yeah, so this would be a 2-step problem. Okay, on this one, I had 52%. I had 2 distractors. I had 6 students pick 1 wrong answer and 3 pick another wrong answer. Again, I had 9 students pick the wrong answer. What do you think the problem was, Mr. Cantu, in your class?
The two-stepper.
The
They
2-step?
they were looking for more simplicity and they didn't analyze it thoroughly.
And they're lazy.
Unfortunately, yes.
I have those students.
Yeah, because I think they just, I don't know, could they have done just one subtraction and not done the second step? Because if you look at answer A, No, because even answer C.
The trouble is that that's a whole number without the decimal.
Yeah, they forgot to maybe
Yeah,
add the
yes.
decimals at the end of the whole number to make it
By
into a
decimal,
fraction.
yes.
So they may have just done the decimals together and ignored that 2 liter, the reference to 2 liters.
Okay, this is 5.3 K, so I'm gonna reteach that one.
As well.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to reteach it. Looking at the distractors, I had 9 students pick the wrong one. That's gonna be a reteach. What about number 9?
I have 68%.
68%? I had 52%. Again, 9 students picked the wrong answer.
47% for me.
47%. What was number 9?
Oh, this one is.
Says the owner of a snow cone stand used 1/4 of a gallon of syrup to make 16 cherry snow cones. So this is dividing fractions, right? Okay. I had 1, 2, 3 out of the 4 questions. The 4 answers. I had 3 distractors. The students were distracted by 3 of them. They picked A, B, and D. Yeah, the answer should be C, 1/64. And for the ones, I know for the ones that picked D, they put the whole number, and they divided a whole number by a fraction instead of dividing the fraction by the whole number. And the way I tell them, if you have fractions as your answer, then the fraction goes in the front. If you have whole numbers as your answers, the whole number goes in the front. Because whatever number is in front, that's what's going to be your answer. If you have a fraction as your first number, your answer is going to be a fraction. And for this, if they would have seen this, it's still confusing because there's 2 whole numbers and 2 fractions, so they don't know what to go with. But she said she used the same amount of syrup. How much syrup of gas was used in each snow cone? So yeah, for me, this is going to be a reteach.
I will as well.
A reteach. And this is TEACS 5.3L. Okay. What about number 27? I had, on 27, I had 57%, 68%,
37%.
37%. And again, looking at this, I already know what the problem is. It's graphing coordinates, but with fractions. And again, it goes back to them understanding what half is. And it kind of correlates to question 28, why they got it wrong, because they don't know that half means 0.5. Yeah. So for me, this is just clearing up misunderstandings because they need to understand that half equals 0.5. I think that's what got them also. And I don't know about your students. My students did not realize what the intermediate number was. Like they went from 0 to 1, but they didn't know what the number in the middle was. It went from 1 to 2, but they didn't know that 0.5 was there.
My being a former third grade teacher helped me that before they start everything, if they see that there's something missing in the graph, like numbers,
Half of that.
how they have to plot it.
Yeah. And I saw the test. Most of my students didn't even bother plotting the half between it. So there was no way they would have known that in the middle of 1 and 2 was 1.5. And if they didn't even make an effort to convert the fraction to a decimal, they would have not have known it. And I had 8 students pick the wrong answer. But again, I don't think it's a problem of them plotting because they know how to plot. They just don't know how to convert that decimal. So for me, it'll be just a clear up misunderstanding because they need to, and it goes back to question 28 about converting that half into a decimal. So I'm just going to clear up misunderstandings on that one. Okay, what about 32? I had number 32, I had 62%,
I have 68%.
68%,
42%.
42%. What is number 32? It's TEAC 5.3G. Solve for quotients of decimals to the hundredths up to 4 dividends. So we are dividing decimals, right? Okay. Mr. Adams drove his delivery truck 151.2 miles during 24 days. He drove the same number of miles each day. Okay, but it doesn't necessarily say they're dividing. So how would we make the kids understand that they're supposed to divide? Would it be the question itself? He drove the same number of miles each day. So they know they have to divide. On mine, I had 7 students choose 2 different distractors. So that was 7 students. They chose G and J.
You could also use the get strategy for this, I think.
Okay.
In case they couldn't
The get, okay.
figure out whether it's division or multiplication. Although mine, well, I'd have to go back, it's only 32%, so obviously 2 out of 3 kids aren't doing the get at least.
They're not getting the get. And you know what, that's a good idea, because it eliminates the multiplication and division. It kind of narrows it down to what you have to do. So I'll put that there with my kids also, to
My
do the
kids,
get.
I need to protect those mistakes.
On that one?
Yes, this one.
Okay,
It's 4 and 1.
Yes, I
okay.
think as well.
We'll do the get and reteach that one. What about number 20?
That one is bad for me, 47%.
I got a 62%. Number 20, what did you get, Mr. Cantu?
37%.
37%. Number 20. 20, oh, it's a stem and leaf. The stem and leaf, okay. And that's 5.9C. Yeah, and it's stem and leaf. What do you think your kids missed on? What do you think they got wrong, sir?
I think they miss on the plotting
Okay,
because they have to, I told them to arrange it from, least to greatest like that. And they just not do it. They just insert, oh, this is 15, that one is 53, instead of, they just put it on the side.
mhm.
I told them to arrange it 3.
Now you look at the question, it says, what is the difference between the number of students who did more than 36 setups and the number of students who did fewer than 25? So they not only had to plot it, and then they had to add all the ones that had 36 or more, and then add all the ones that were 25 or less, and then subtract them. So this is like a 3-step problem.
One more thing is they added
The
0
zero.
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big,
Mm-hmm.
mistake.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes, that's true. So this would be 8 instead of 80.
Instead of eliminating 8.
Yeah.
Because it's not supposed to be.
It's not supposed to be. It's a distractor. Okay, so this one I'm gonna reteach that one because
Mine as well.
it seems like they were just off on that. We'll do one more and then we can discuss maybe what actions we're gonna take. What about number 4? I had 67, 74. What about number 4?
Oh, the graph.
Oh, okay, it's a bar graph. Okay, the 5th grade students at Oakwood Elementary School recorded their favorite ice cream flavor on the graph shown. So they got vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. Now what's the question? It says how many students did not pick strawberry as their favorite ice cream flavor? So, well, the graph information is there. They're just not giving you the information you need beginning against instant intervals, right? But that's a pretty straight up question.
You have to plot it first, and then refer to the elimination process.
Yeah, because they had to add them all up and then subtract it, right? So again, this is a 2-step problem. It says, yeah, because the TEAC says solve 1 and 2-step problems using data from a frequency chart. So it was a 2-step problem where they had to add and then subtract the total. So they had to learn how to read the bar graph and then use the data to do the 2-step problem. Okay. For me, this one will be your reteach. Okay. Now, getting to all the ones that we worked on, what action plans do you think we can come up with to help these students get where they need to be? I know one of the items we talked about was the Think Up workbook.
Yes.
And what we could do is, because we have all the data, all the students that missed them, we could get those students into one group according to TEKS that they missed and target it with the Think Up, because the Think Up, I know it's according to the TEKS.
Yes.
So that could be one thing. What could be another thing that we could do for an action plan?
Another need to personalize it is create the same problem, and change the numbers, you know,
Okay, so use kind of the same questions
same
then,
questions.
but just with different numbers and different information, data. That could
That
be
sounds
good.
good.
We could do that. So we'll do different questions, different data on the same questions. And we can do the Think Up. Okay, what about, those low performing TEKS with the students that need, because I know the ELLs will struggle with the language,
Yeah, so vocabulary.
vocabulary.
We introduce the vocabulary.
I think it's mostly using academic vocabulary on a daily basis, because it's bad enough that they're not introduced to it, or I mean, they don't really know it. And then for them to, for the first time to see it, it would be on the test. It's kind of hard. And it's hard because, well, you can't really use a dictionary, right? So use ELL vocabulary. Anything else, sir? What do you think, sir? I know you're thinking a lot. What are you thinking, sir?
I think just reteach to, that's only for that group of students. You know,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
per like give that emphasis in tutoring.
Okay. And I think maybe another action plan that we could do is when we do the whole class, the ones that mastered them, kind of just release them to do their own
Yes.
stuff and bring that small group of students that didn't get it the first time. And either if it's going to be a clear misunderstanding, it shouldn't take us that long. If it's a reteach, it'll give us that opportunity to sit down and really go in depth with them and try to help them with that. I think that'll help them. Any suggestions for tutoring?
Well, compile those, those ticks.
Mhm.
Compile those and have the kids about after reteaching, give those bunch of kids like as homework.
Okay. Well, for me, I'm gonna start tutoring in the morning. So I have the students that did not pass or did not do good
Yes.
on the TEKS, and have those kids come in the morning, and again, reinforce it with a Think Up. I know Sharon House has some skills and reviews in there that we could use, and we could even go into the Star Release test and look at some TEKS that they missed and get questions stemmed from there, and just use them like Mr. Reyes said, just change the data a little bit and reteach it to them. And I think that's a good tutoring tool, and I think that's what we can target the students the most with.
One very effective is, you know, uh, get all those bright ones to teach these low ones after you have taught them.
Okay, so bring in like student teachers.
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Individually.
bring them in the morning. Yeah, because especially in the morning, it'll give you a chance to, if it's clear up misunderstanding, a question on clear misunderstandings, the student teachers can help them with that. They can clear up, and that'll give us time to work with the reteach.
He says sometimes they understand more their peers than the teacher.
Yeah, yeah, peer tutoring works really, really well, and I think that'll work. So I think we'll go with that for the action plan, and we'll go that for the tutoring plan. And like I said, like I said, for the tutoring plan, I'm tutoring in the morning. I know you're tutoring in the morning, and Mr. Cantu
I think I'm gonna start tutoring in the morning
in
as
the
well.
morning.
I'm adding tutoring in during my conference.
Okay, and the reason I find it more
Yeah, I
effective
do
in the,
that.
well, I find it more effective in the morning because they're
They're fresh.
fresh and they're alert, and they're not thinking about going home like we do after school. After school, it's just, I wanna go home, and some don't even stay, some leave early. They pick them up early from tutoring, so they don't get the whole hour of tutoring, and in the afternoon, they're just dead tired, they don't wanna work anymore. But then I think the morning will work better for both of us.
And having changed PE from the last period to the middle of the day is having an impact, at least on my class.
Yeah, it does, it works better because at the end of the day, you can work a little bit more with them and they're not as tired. So, good. Again, thank you guys for your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm grateful for this team.
Thank you, sir.